Welcome to Gather In, where you'll hear stories of conversion to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. If you have an interesting story to tell, please go to our Instagram page or send us an email to gatherin@proton.me. Our very special guest on today's podcast is 101-year-old Robert or Bob Lyon. I've known Bob for many years and I haven't seen him for a few years. I've been away for 19 months, 20 months now, as you know, as a missionary with the church, and I returned to my hometown recently and managed to drop in to see Bob at the nursing home that he's in. And he was on for a long talk, an unusually long talk for a 101-year-old, and I realised that I should be recording it, so I pulled out the mobile phone and started recording. And he kept on talking. There were some long pauses while he gathered his thoughts, but he still has an incredible memory for a 101-year-old. And we had a great chat. It was a real pleasure to catch up with him again. I hope you enjoy this episode. It's a little bit different. He does get a little bit repetitive at times, but I really hope you just enjoy the moment of spending a bit of time with a 101-year-old. It's not every day you get to do that. You tell us your joke now.
It's better to be 101 than 100 and lost.
Yes, that's better to be 101 than 100 and lost. Okay, a play on words. Thank you. That's amazing. So, Bob, do you remember how you came to join the church? Can you
Came to
join the church? Now, I know, I was talking to, do you remember Oleg Lewinsky? Do you remember that name?
Say it again?
Oleg Lewinsky.
Yes, I remember the name.
So he joined the church up in Horsham when he was a young man, right?
Oh,
Yeah. And I think you were the branch president up there then, in Horsham. Now, was it in Horsham that you became a member of the church?
exactly when, I'm not too sure.
Oh, you've forgotten that, huh?
But I know that there was a meeting between all the members of the church between Melbourne and Adelaide.
Yeah.
And at that meeting, the officer in charge of the meeting, there's a proposal that I be made a high priest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was carried unanimously.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of history in between.
Yeah. And you and I got to know each other pretty well when I was a high priest group leader in Geelong.
Oh.
Do you remember that? I was a high priest group leader.
I could remember the name. What happens when you get old?
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of things I've experienced. What's one of them? Oh yeah, when the air raids were on in Darwin, and there was a minimum of Australian soldiers up there. I was in the communications, and there was an air raid. The Japanese were attacking Australia, and there was a highway from Darwin down towards
Alice Springs.
I think it went right into South Australia.
Yeah, would have gone to Adelaide, I guess, at the end, yeah.
And I remember on one occasion, there's an air raid on, they were attacking the Allies camp down the highway.
Yeah.
And I could see the anti-aircraft gunnery, the surf sights going.
Yeah.
And the Japanese were diving down. It was real fireworks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet it was. It would have been quite frightening, wouldn't it, Bob?
Oh, yeah. I was going to tell you about the air raids, and there was just a minimum of soldiers in Darwin, and they were concentrating on the fact that the Japanese would try and come into the harbour there. And there was already a big ship had been bombed lying against the jetty there. Yeah, there in that area too. There were on the shallow beaches, the natives had erected bayoneting traps to catch the I can't, not sure.
It'll come back to you just after I leave.
Yeah, anyhow,
Yeah.
the Australian natives, they made that area into a big fish trap. When the tide went out, they put a fish trap in place, and then they put that down, and high tide, when the tide came in, the fish came in. And apparently the fish didn't know about this netting, because when the tide went out, the locals went out to there and they collected the fish from inside of the netting traps.
Yeah. Wow.
And there was one day out there, there was another place nearby where when we came to the Northern Territory, there was an area where we stopped for 2 or 3 weeks to get us conditioned to tropical conditions. And it came to this point that I was in Darwin still there, and I think there's just a few soldiers there to sort of protect Darwin. And there was an air raid one night, and I had one of those trenches where you go down when there's an air raid. And I was in there this night, and this was in the early morning, and there was an air raid warning.
Yeah.
And I went down there, and there was bombs dropping all around, and I thought that they'll come and trap like that. I thought the next one was going to land on me.
Wow.
And it didn't anyway. But I could see straight down the highway from where my bunk was, and I could see down there where the air raids were there. You could see anti-aircraft guns going, searchlights going, and the Allied planes driving. See the whole war. I think the Japanese must have come in onto the land, because there was anti-aircraft guns going, and there was the aerodrome, which was the main highway.
Yeah.
And I at first tried swinged all the way up and down the highway, and then there was an air raid, and I went out, and the bombs started dropping, and I thought the next one must surely fall on me. And we found out after, eventually they went off. I think the Spitfires or something got onto them.
Yeah.
But, what was it? Oh, yeah. While I was down there, but it wasn't from where I was stationed. We had a weekend off to go for a trip down the bush. And there's one party that went on to the seaside, And there was black ladies, they used to drive down for the pearls and pearl shells.
Yeah.
And well, oh yes, we had an expedition on this holiday weekend, and one party went to where the pearl shells and things were, and I stayed back in the, well, actually, you might say it was a suburb of Darwin.
Mm.
And when the air raids were on, and you know, you could hear the bombs dropping and the medics, and you knew when the bombs and aircraft were far enough away so you could stand there and watch what was going on.
Yeah.
And I did that on one occasion.
Wow.
And yeah.
You're doing, Bob, you're doing very well to remember all this stuff. This is, so this is 80 years ago? So you would have been in your 20s at this time.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. You were born in 22, and I can't remember what year Darwin was bombed, but it was probably like 1942 or 43, something like that. So you were probably about 20 years old, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I just yesterday I was sort of going back in the memories. Because, well, the age I am now,
Yeah.
I think it's not long before I might get that tap on the shoulder.
Bob, do you remember what my nickname was for you when I was High Priest Group Leader in Geelong Ward? I was High Priest Group Leader and you were one of the High Priests in the ward, and I had a nickname for you. I gave you a certificate which had your nickname on there. Do you remember the name I used to call you? You don't? The Answer Man. The Answer Man.
Oh,
Do you remember that? Because it didn't matter what the topic was, what the question was, you always had the answer. Everyone would be discussing it backwards and forwards, and you'd put up your hand and say, I think it's this. And I tell you what, you were spot on all the time, so I nicknamed you the Answer Man. I don't think there was any question that ever tripped you up. You always knew the answers. Yeah.
well, I'll tell you what amazes me
Yeah.
since those days, that all the times when I'm in dangerous areas,
Yeah.
I've never been hurt.
Yeah. Well, that's probably partly why you've lived to 101.
Oh, yeah. But, you know, I thought about this, but I thought, how is this? Other people getting killed and I'm right.
Yeah. I think the Lord protected you.
That's what I felt, exactly.
Yeah. You were protected. You had more important things to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's one of those things, sometimes here, not sometimes it's a bit hard to sleep because there's been a lot of other things happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was sort of pondering on, there was another thing I used to do when I was there, not during the war, but after the war,
Yeah.
that I was one of the people that took care of the church finances. And there was a time there when there was $40 that never been accounted for. It was missing.
Mm-hmm.
And I took on that. I used to go where with the donations went in. Of course, it wasn't for the donations were handed to the bishop, I think he was, and he put it into the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, for the $40, it had been unaccounted for years. It was donated but never got to the bank. And I took it upon myself to try and find out where it was. And I traced it here. All the donations were accounted for, but they didn't appear in the bank. And so I put in a sample, went through, went to the bank all right. So I thought, what's going on? Anyhow, instead of putting in the usual donation slot, I put it in after the donation point, and I traced it down through all the paths that went before it went to the bank. And I found that this $40 had been missing for a year, or was it something that was missing for 40 years? I forget what it was now.
But you tracked it down?
Yeah, I found it.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
went right through it, put in a sample, followed it through, went it all the way through. Now, what went wrong? So instead of putting the money in next time, I went through with my fingers, and I found a spot there. It was just where the money wasn't accounted for. I threshed around, and I found the money. It's got in the deposit, what would you call it? It was leather, or it might have been leather on some other plastic, but yeah. Oh yeah, anyhow, I found the money, and why do you think it was? It was in the bottom of the, what would you call it? Anyhow, you put the donations in, went through, accounted for, went right through it. Went right through. So I followed through the same way with my fingers. Yeah.
And you found it.
I found it.
So there was a place that the money was sort of getting stuck and not going through the chute into. Was this like the night safe that you were depositing the money in at the bank?
You know where I found it?
Yeah.
In the donation between the bank and where the donation from the church went into the banker.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, a bit of detective work, and
the money,
you solved the problem.
The money was in the parcel that took the money from the church into the bank, and it got jammed in the deposit slot.
Wow.
And that's where the money was.
Wow. Wow. I'm just going to finish off this by saying I've been talking here today to Bob Lyon, and Bob was a member of the church here in Geelong Ward for a long, long time. Before that, he was a branch president up in Horsham for a long time. And you've been kicking around a long time. Bob was born on the February the 22nd, 1922. Is that right? So you're 101 years old.
Yeah.
And I was in the area, so I thought I'd drop in to say hello to Bob today and see how he's doing. And it's a couple of years since I've seen him, but we've had a great visit. It's been good to see you, Bob.
Yeah, well, you know, there's that many things have happened in those times.
Yeah.
And, well, one of the things I mention that one of the things that I had taken was a record of all the unvisited members.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I took it on myself to go and visit them all.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Go and check up and see how they were doing, huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
And there was one occasion that Yeah. There was a sick little girl. She had a bad earache, and they, group of ladies, they sent for the missionaries. The missionaries couldn't be found. They were out proselyting, if you understand what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I went in to apologise, but couldn't find, I knew them, looked for the missionaries and couldn't find them. And while I was talking and apologising, one of the ladies had pointed to the sick girl, and she's gone to sleep. Her earache had gone, and apparently it was my presence there that, well, it seemed, and that the ladies thought it was.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow. You got some good old memories there, Bob.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you've been able to share a few of those memories with us today.
Well, my son, he's getting all those memories and putting them into a ledger.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Well,
Yeah.
I've
See,
yeah.
what I've done before all this,
Yeah.
I've been collecting the history of members of the church. And there's miracles appeared in that too. It seems with my presence, oh well now, I'll leave that for a moment, but I went to visit one place where they hadn't had a visit for a long time. I got there, there was a young fellow, I suppose he might have been 14 or 15, and he was standing out in the open. I was going to visit the family. It was on a sort of a, what you might call a local plain. I went down there, saw him, asked him what he was doing. He said he was talking to God. Yeah. Oh. You know, amazing things happen.
Yeah.
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 And some of those amazing things seem to follow me.
That's because your faith, Bob. You have great faith, don't you?
Well, I couldn't see there was any argument against that. I knew the devil, but one of the church members wanted the bishop's help because the devil was tormenting her. And so he sent me to talk to the lady, and yes, she said that, and she says, the devil's got hairy hands. Amazing. Anyhow, what happened was that, well, what happened? Oh, there's some other stories attached to this, but, oh yes, that lady also, she had bad eyes. Something there, she could see all right at the moment, but at any moment, the eyesight could fail. So, and she was the secretary for a husband. He was all business-like, and he treated his business more important than his wife. So, in my rounds, I went up there and talked to the lady there, and so I've given her a blessing and promised her that her husband would be more care, more of a husband, looking after her as well as his business. And the next time I came down, she wasn't in her usual home. she and the ladies had moved to another small township. And you see, I should have moved them about. And, well, it was amazing how, well, now, just to tell you, so one of the things, I went to visit one of the members of the church, and yes, and she saw me there, and she answered the door, but she wouldn't open it.
Mm-hmm.
She wouldn't open it because she was afraid her husband would make a fuss. So anyhow, I waited, and his husband turned up, so we went down there and we had a good chat and went through all right. But then, there was other things. Amazing. I told you about that young fellow that was talking to God.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, look, there were sort of ups and downs of history.
Yeah.
But on one occasion, what was it? Anyhow, a group of members of the church, I think it might have been, there was a new church built for a branch of the church. And anyhow, well, there's a lot of things happened. But it seemed that wherever I went, I visited marvellous events following. And, and I sort of thought of that, but I was that busy. And there was the occasion that there was this one member of the church, he hadn't been visited for a long time. And I went there, and he asked the door, and said, "No, I can't come in till after he comes home." That was a sort of general attitude.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You were doing the right thing there, Bob.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, and there was one occasion, deadly what it was, but this group of us went, I think there must have been a branch meeting of the church. And I think I mentioned before, yes. Yeah, the ladies at church, they used to have their own little meetings.
Yeah.
But they moved for their meeting place, which was,
Bob? Are you getting a little bit tired trying to remember all this stuff? I'm not wearing you out, am I, with you telling me all these stories? I don't want to wear you out too much, mate.
No, I can sleep in here all day if I feel I need it. Yeah. But look, there was a lot of things happening. Like the little girl that had an earache.
Yeah.
And I was looking for the mission, couldn't find the mission. I went and apologised to the ladies, and I was talking to them, one of them pointed to the little girl, and she'd gone to sleep. Her earache was gone.
Yeah, you mentioned that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, well,
You must have given her a blessing, did you? Did you give her a blessing?
oh yeah.
Yeah. Miracles happen, Bob, don't they? Miracles happen.
It was amazing, you know. On one occasion, yeah, there was something. We were going to somewhere, and I had what was it exactly? But anyhow, there was a young boy, answered the door, and he let me in without question. And he and his mother was racing on him for letting me in without knowing who I was. Anyhow, that all went off all right, but you know.
Yeah.
And I told you about the fellow that was talking to God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned that one. Yeah. That was just a little boy, huh?
Well, it was amazing how often things happened that you might say you couldn't account for why they were happening. Yeah. Oh, yes. And then it came to another thing that had a bit of a puzzle about. That it was making out my will. Because you see, I had suffered a couple of heart attacks, and, you know, you couldn't guarantee. But, well, you might say that good luck followed me wherever I went.
Hey, Bob, I need to stop doing this video. Would you like to? There's going to be a few people watch this from church. I'll show this to a few people at church.
Oh.
Would you like to say goodbye to everyone?
Yes. Say to the members my name, and that I was hoping that everything was going well for them, and that I had, well, in my efforts to meet and talk to members of the church who hadn't been seen before, as they did, like the widows, and there was another one who was all businessman, and his wife was his secretary.
Yeah.
And he was a bit of a bully, ordering to do this and that.
Yeah.
So I called on her and found the situation, and I had given her a blessing and promised her that her husband would be more caring for her. I came on. She also had an eye problem. Exactly what it was. It had a special name, but she could see reasonably, but total blindness could happen at any time. So, anyhow, I visited her husband and talked to him, and and I told him that his wife was worried because she felt that, she had, well, I think she was a warrior. And anyhow, I sensed it. Oh, she told me about this. There's a number of things happened. One of them was that the ladies' meetings, they had a little corner for themselves. And they'd moved from that into one of the towns. And it all went well. But wherever I went, there was things happening. It seems like it's my presence caused them.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Great to talk to you, Bob. We'll stop there, I think. We'll stop there because I think you're getting a bit worn out, mate.
Yeah.
If you have an interesting story to tell, please contact us via our Instagram page or send an email to gatherin@proton.me.